The American is a cynical and satirical look at superheroes and the society that needs and breeds them. It juxtaposes a stark, torn from the headlines take on international politics and terrorism against the surreal notion of a real-life comic book hero and the media machine that keeps him in the spotlight. This limited series was published by Dark Horse Comics and ran for 8 issues, appearing bi-monthly from 1987 until the last issue appeared in 1989. There was also a 4-issue miniseries called Lost in America, which was published in 1992. In addition, The American appeared in Dark Horse Presents once or twice and in A1 issue number 3. For this series of videos, we are going to examine the first 4 issues, which comprise the first major story arc in the series. The series was created and written by Mark Verheiden, who is best known in comics for his work on the Aliens and Predator series from Dark Horse, but is better known for writing for television and film, including for writing the film The Mask, also for Dark Horse. The American is a decidedly political work, which takes aim at the entertainment and news media, shadowy government and military institutions, and the superficial excess of American society. According to series creator Mark Verheiden and editor Randy Stradley, The American was inspired by Verheiden's childhood favorite comic book, The American, which was owned by Sam Lee and published by his Watch Stop Comics group. Verheiden loved The American so much that he bought the rights to the character so that he could write this story, bringing the quaint and cheesy comic book character from 1963 into the real and dangerous worlds of 1987. This, of course, draws an immediate comparison to the famous works of Alan Moore, specifically his creations The Watchmen from 1986, which began its life as a vehicle to update classic comic characters and place them into the grim and gritty 1980s, and even more so to Moore's 1982 work Miracle Man, which was successfully able to update an archaic character into the modern age, both series ending with decidedly apocalyptic results. Issue number 1 of The American is a good comic book, but it's not great on its own. However, when taken as part of the larger story presented in issues number 1 through 4, it becomes the introductory chapter in a clever, entertaining, and emotional story. The premise is a unique twist on the superhero genre. In issue 1, we are introduced to the American, an ageless Superman who has been winning the fight for America since the 1950s. He is more than a superhero, but a superstar as well, with movies, toys, and of course, comic books bearing his likeness and aggrandizing his patriotic exploits. There is a mysterious side to the American, however, because no one really knows who he is or how he does what he does, and there are rumors about him which are always covered up. The story revolves around a jaded and cynical reporter named Dennis Huff, who, being a superfan of the American, decides to investigate further when rumors of his death surface. As Huff uncovers more information about the American, his conceptions are challenged, and he starts to see that the American is not all he's cracked up to be. Issue 1 climaxes with the dramatic apparent death of the American, which Huff witnesses directly. At the same time, his close friend is also murdered, and Huff realizes that there is an actual government conspiracy surrounding his childhood hero. Issue number 1 starts off with a very light-hearted, nearly comical tone. In retrospect, I believe that writer Verheiden did that deliberately to make the terrible revelations from later in the series have greater emotional impact. However, the humorous tone does drag this particular issue down a notch, with a couple of overly cheesy jokes. The larger narrative of the series is only hinted at in this issue, but it begins to paint a picture of a vast conspiracy that is veiled by pompous showmanship and consumerism. It's hard to really see it in issue 1, but Verheiden is a skilled storyteller. There are numerous characters and subplots set up in this issue which pay off in later issues. He also uses a metaphorical framing device of a Chinese puzzle box to symbolize getting to the heart of the secret of the American. In general, the writing is clear and concise, fast-paced, easy to understand, and amusing. There are only a few long passages of exposition. Verheiden does get poetic and philosophical in a few places, to good effect. He also uses symbolism and satire to good effect in the story. Even the front cover illustration has some good symbolism for the story hidden in it, especially the use of the motto, E pluribus unum. The satire is expressed through the commercialism demonstrated by the American and the snarky inner dialogue of Huff. The art is handled by Chris Warner, who was a staple of Dark Horse Comics in the early days of the publisher, where he created the post-apocalyptic bounty hunter character Black Cross, and was the original artist on the legendary Predator film adaptation series. Warner's art is good and consistent throughout the issue, with excellent figure work and easily distinguishable characters. His style is well suited for the black and white format, though I can't help but feel that it's a bit underdeveloped in this issue when compared to his later works. His cover art, however, is excellent. Overall, the art is a bit lackluster when compared to the next 3 issues, when Warner's pencils are inked by Art Nichols. When it comes to literary merit, I give this an A-. Verheiden is exploring complex themes and puzzles out many tricks of professional writers in order to do it. The overall arc of the storyline is definitely worth reading. The lettering by Bill Spicer is solid. It's very clear, easy to read, but the sound effects don't really jazz me. The art I give a B-. It's good art, and I'm only downgrading it because subsequent issues are noticeably better. The writing I have to give a C. While it's a little ham-fisted, it is overall good. However, there is one glaring mistake. A major character is revealed to have died on the very last page, but we never see the death or receive a satisfactory explanation as to how and why it happened. It definitely feels like a last-minute edit that was made without enough time to properly implement it into the story. Even the art is literally just a repeated photocopy of the character's face. Overall, the production is very good. I give it a B+. It's a black and white book, but it looks fine for the time. The paper is decent quality. It hasn't yellowed much over these 30+ years. And the inks are nice and black. We get lots of deep blacks. It has very fine lines, good detail. We have really good zipatone. You can see very clearly. It's a good looking book. There's a nice cover, as I mentioned before. There's also 2 editorials, one from the author and one from the editor, Randy Stradley. Both of the editorials are driving home the notion that this book is a relaunched version of an old school comic book character. The other thing we get in this issue are some really nice ads, including one for the next issue of The American, one for Ron Randall's Trekker, awesome sci-fi bounty hunter series, one for The Mark, which was Dark Horse's other superhero title at the time, one for Mecha, which was their mecha or mech style comic, mech bandwagon comic from the time. We get an awesome ad for Charles Vess's Book of Night, which is a great comic series, and a very verbose ad for Concrete. And of course, on the back, there's an ad for Dark Horse Presents number 8, which was nominated Best Black and White Comic in the 1987 Kirby Awards. So then, is The American just a cheap Miracle Man ripoff, or is there more to it than that? Stay tuned next time when we look at The American number 2. And maybe we'll find out.